Anytime.
Hello, my name is Paul Haygood. I work with Steinerbooks, and we publish our own and many other publishers of Rudolf Steiner's works in English. We are doing a series on Waldorf education. We do publish many of Rudolf Steiner's original texts in English for teachers and parents in the English-speaking world. We publish 23 different works of Steiner in English on Waldorf education. This is our second meeting, and we're going to focus this afternoon on the Waldorf Early Childhood program. We have two veteran teachers, and we're going to talk a little bit about what makes Waldorf special, unique, and I would say very, very timely. The original Waldorf school began in Stuttgart, Germany in 1919. It did not have a kindergarten at that point. So one of the questions I have for our guests this afternoon is how and when did the first Waldorf kindergarten come along? Because it has spread from Germany, of course, across Europe. It was culturally very, very at home in Europe, and we've had work to do, serious work, to bring it to this continent, to this country. And since then, almost 100 years later, the Waldorf movement and the Waldorf Early Childhood movement are literally international phenomena. There are schools all over the world right now. So, what is unique? How did it begin? And how is it an especially timely response to our world in a fairly difficult situation at the moment? This is Krista.
Christy.
Christy. Mm-hmm. This is Summer. Mm-hmm. And have at it, ladies.
Gosh. Well, I could maybe start by saying that in the 30 years that I've been teaching, I've noticed a real change in the educational process, particularly in this country. I would almost describe it as a pressure cooker environment. Mm. And I feel that that is just becoming more and more the case. And in Waldorf education, we're really trying to work with the developmental needs of the young child and give them the time and the space they need to, I feel very adamant that it's important to protect and nurture childhood because that's getting eroded. Mm-hmm. You know, all the recess is getting cut and arts programs are getting cut, and teachers are also feeling like they're in a pressure cooker and they're having to teach to the test. And we want to give our children the space and the time that they need to unfold their capacities. So that's one big difference I've noticed in the last 30 years.
Thank you.
And I would say how we do it is really different than any other education that I've ever seen, being a parent and a teacher. And mostly that we are allowing the children, as Christy says, to unfold through imaginative capacities of their own that we as teachers are fostering and not always giving them kind of feeding the pail, as we've heard people say, and just giving them information, but allowing them to have a sense of wonder. We have very held classrooms because we really work through a sense of rhythm that is kind of innate in the young child, and that seems to be disappearing in people's minds in our society, to really look at how children play and how children interact socially and how children learn at this age. And I think the rhythm that we carry, which is allowing things to unfold similarly every day, every month, every week, every year, so that they have a feeling of safety and being held so that they can go out and do what they need to do, which is to learn how to do things by play. They learn specifically at this age, from birth to 7, they learn mostly out of imitation. And so we as teachers are there to model the behavior that we want them to learn and the things that we want them to be able to do. And we also, their way of learning is by doing things, not by listening as much or hearing us talk or telling them what to do, but to actually trying things out for themselves. And we give them the space and the beautiful surroundings to do that and to use their imagination to create and to play. We spend a lot of time in nature. That is one of the most important things that we feel is probably disappearing from children's lives, even though it's there for us always. And we spend a lot of time doing natural work. They wash their own dishes, they chop their own vegetables, they create their own toys just out of loose material. And it's amazing to watch them really bring out who they are when we're giving them the space for that.
So I know that Waldorf works with 7-year cycles and very specific methods, rhythms, very important. And is it accurate to say that birth to 6 or 7 and the archetype that is this change of teeth that happens as a signal now that the child is ready to take on more reading, writing, and arithmetic? So could we accurately call it a pre-cognitive stage? And in what ways are what they're doing setting the stage for them to actually learn reading, writing, and arithmetic? I mean, if I was a father with a career and I went in and I said, they're just playing. When are they going to learn? They're just playing. And we have in this culture a very strong work ethic. And play is something you do when you're not working. And school means you work. Well, yeah, but.
Well, the young child's work is play. And I think there's really been so much research done recently that corroborates that, how important play is for the young child. It's how they discover things without being told. They learn things through play. They learn how to socially interact. They learn about gravity through building. So there are all those things, but I think it's really important to remember, I often say to people, when you watch a house being built, it seems like it takes forever to get the foundation in and level and right. But then once that's there, the walls and the roof go up very quickly. Well, it's the same thing with the young child. You don't want to rush that foundational stage. If you rushed it with your house and didn't let the concrete dry or didn't get the floor level, it's going to impact the whole rest of the house forever. And we often say that these foundational years where the children are learning these early pre-literacy skills are so important. They are learning, they are imitating everything in their surroundings. And they are absorbing so much through their senses. We don't want to rush that. We don't want to skip over things. We want them to really have a strong foundation. And when they, there are many skills that are required before one learns to write and to read. We are working with all of those. So, for example, we tell stories and the children listen to the stories for thousands of years. This is how humanity has learned, through oral tradition. So we really work with that. We tell them stories or do puppet shows for them every day, but we keep the same one 4 days in a row so that the children can hear it and experience it many times, because it goes deeper and deeper every time that they listen to it. They don't need sensory overload. They don't need new things all the time. They need to actually take things in and make it deeper and deepen it. So if there's, for example, a word that they don't understand, if it's an object, you can go and touch it at will and discover it. But if it's a word, you have to hear it many times before you can really understand it. So we work with a lot of different
Pre-language skills.
Yes,
I mean, vocabulary
skills,
is there,
yes.
grammar is
Correct.
there.
Grammar, yes.
This all-important facility to unfold in our time, imagination is there
And
in
as Summer
storytelling.
said, all the practical activities that we do, chopping and kneading the bread dough, these are all developing the skill for the child to be able to hold the writing implement and write. The grade school teachers often tell us, when children come from many different places, their pencil grip, it can be very awry, and it's almost impossible to change it. Once you have gotten used to writing in a certain way, if it's not the correct way, you're going to pretty much keep that your whole life. So that's my point, is to laying these foundational skills. And I think most parents really, when we explain that to them, they go, oh.
Same for mathematical and for basically what our world is calling executive functioning, which is
That's a new one.
what the adolescent has to deal with, what the adults have to deal with, is really what comes first, second, and third, how to be focused on one activity, stay with it before you move on to the next. In our world with all of this media, that's increasingly more difficult, I think, and we're bombarded with quick flashes and everything is surface-oriented. So going deeper into things that Christina said, but also the executive function comes from sequencing, which affects your ability to be able to handle mathematical equations, which affects your ability to handle reading all the way through a paragraph. And that is coming from, for us, is when we, let's say, have snack at the table together. We're finished eating, and we don't just wander off and go. We know that we may say a blessing when we start eating, and we say a thank you song when we're done, every time at the same time of day. Then we fold our napkin, then we bring our bowl over to wash, then we dry it, and then we put it away. One thinks that is so simple, but when you're really young, you might put the bowl away before it's dry, or you might run off and play before you finish folding your things. And so doing these things the same way every day gives them the sequencing skills to be able to handle later complicated math problems that allow them to think really, from one step to another, which we are really losing that capacity, I think.
Yeah.
We might, with computers, it's harder to do it as a human being.
Yeah. So many Waldorf schools have an early childhood department, and hopefully most of the children there in the kindergarten will then go on into first grade. In the case of an independent kindergarten, there's usually a Waldorf school somewhere in the not so near neighborhood, so a discussion can go on. But my question is, the mother loves it. The father's saying, yeah, but there's no grade 1 in the neighborhood. What happens when my child at 6, hopefully, comes out of your Waldorf kindergarten into a neighborhood parochial school, public school? What are they going to be ready? Are they going to be, up to speed, as it were? How do you handle that kind of inquiry? And I am putting you on the spot right now.
No, that question, actually, we answer that so often, and especially because I've just moved down to South Carolina to help start an initiative there. There are no other Waldorf schools around, so we did get that question. What we're finding is that if the child is given the right soil in his early childhood years, he's ripe and ready to take on the next step. You can have your 3- and 4-year-olds, learning by rote to try to write these letters and things, but if they're not quite ready for it, they're struggling until they get to the age when
the fine motor control is just not there. The eye focus is not there yet.
Right,
Yeah.
and so when the child has done all these foundational skills, and has a good oral language skills and all the things that we do, they are just ripe and ready to take it in. I have found over the years, because people have asked this question always, that if they have to move, when is the best time, if their child has to go into another school, I have seen that because we start, as you know, in the first grade, we start the whole reading and writing process formally, that by third grade, the children are on a par. So, in other words, it can be helpful to, if you know you're going to be moving and you're trying to think of a time, when is a good time to shift. If your children have those, because we teach the reading and writing in a different way, in a pictorial way, and we have a whole way that we build that up in the grade school, that to know that at third grade they're going to be on par with their public school neighbors. But it's so much more than that, because they love it. They love to read because of the way it was taught to them. They're not burned out. That's the other thing that a lot of teachers talk about, children being burned out by third grade. They don't want to read.
I thought it was 5th or 6th.
No, they've been pushed in preschool to learn all their upper and lowercase letters and to do all these things. They don't want to read anymore by third grade, whereas our children can't get enough of it. So
I think also, so Christi is an environment where they only have the kindergarten right now because it's a young school, and I'm sure you're hoping that one day it will grow into more. And we have the luxury here in Great Barrington to have a school that goes up to the 8th grade and then another high school that's close by. But there's still always, children that may leave the school at different times. And what we have heard from our local public school teachers is they think it's such a gift to have these Waldorf children in their classroom because they are socially much more well-balanced.
Wonderful.
Because they've had this opportunity in early childhood and maybe the early grades to really work through all the social innuendos that they need to do, and to climb trees and feel strong in their bodies, and to really feel present and connected with the work, and also have this sense of wonder. What I was saying before is that you're going to give me this information to learn. I want to learn it. I want more, because it was fostered in them to just want to learn these things and to really have honed their observation skills. So these teachers really have found that they love having our children in there, and that they do very well, and they're very motivated.
What's occurring to me at the moment, in an American context, is that it sounds like Waldorf and its rhythms and cycles and introducing certain things at certain times is a very efficient, from our efficiency point of view over here. I mean, the aesthetics are vital. But the efficiency with which one can learn, with a child can learn, is sounds like it's strengthened and enhanced and made to work. I would say
it's a living education too. It can be efficient, but it's a living.
Yeah.
It has a living. It's not just numbers and letters and words. It has.
Right. Yeah. We may have to have a third 12th grade curriculum seminar on the finest work of art out of the Western civilization, as one observer put it a number of years ago. He called the 12th grade curriculum of the Waldorf School the finest work of art that has come in our time. That's an interesting subject, perhaps, for another time. Let's go way down to the toddler groups, the baby groups. Tell me the rationale behind bringing them in so young. Are they not too young to be hanging out with each other, or how does that work? Please.
Well, I think that is a growing part of the early childhood movement that's been growing over the last 12 years or so. So relatively new in the light of early childhood, because many early childhood teachers and parents always felt that it's best for these children to be at home before they go to school at this age. But I think that luxury of being at home is not there for us as much because more and more parents need to go to school. And they want an environment that is home-like for their children, even if it's just going there with their child in a, say, a parent-child class where they can go and learn some of the philosophy that we work with, and they can implement it at home, and they can learn from other parents, and there is a teacher there guiding them and helping them to learn how to kind of observe their children more and see what they're needing specifically.
So you're educating parents.
You're educating parents.
Along with providing a nurturing environment for the maybe 6-month-old.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, Dad, here's how you change a diaper.
We have a wonderful teacher at our school that teaches these amazing baby classes from 6 months, and then they go on up until they're old enough to come to our nursery and kindergarten programs. And she really spends a lot of time kind of teaching the parents how to work with, toddler discipline, which is always a big one, and with socialization and how to deal with tantrums that are effective, how to really be strong and set good boundaries for their children. And there's so many things that the parents learn from those classes.
Yeah.
And,
so let's do two things because we're approaching our time here. On the one hand, be very specific on an archetypal day, the different things that you do, or the different areas that you will rhythmically string together in a day. And I'm assuming on the same day of the week you do the same things. Okay. So what specifically are those things that you would do? And then a little bit of a history lesson. When did the first Waldorf kindergarten come around? And I think that will do it for today.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, well, in my classroom, the children come in the morning, and the first thing we do is prepare a snack together. So they come in, take their things off, use the bathroom, wash their hands, get their aprons on, and we are all sitting at the table working on chopping vegetables for soup, if it's soup day, or baking bread, if it's bread day, singing songs and doing that. That's a very nice way to start the morning. It brings us all together as a group and a group activity. And as Summer said earlier, we really want to take our time and see the process through. So when we're finished with preparing the food, we wash the boards and cutting knives and sweep. Oh my goodness, they sweep, they clean the table, they sweep, and then when that's all done, they take off their aprons and the bread goes in the oven and off they go to play. We give a nice chunk of time for the children to have free play in the morning after that initial activity. And during that time, I will usually sit and do a handcraft with a few children at a time, so that I'm able to observe and help teach them, but also observe their small motor skills, and we do seasonal crafts together. And during that time, they are playing in different ways in the room, free play, creative play, and we are helping them with, when they have squabbles, helping them find their way through that. We're helping them, giving. Sometimes there's a shy child that one needs to sort of encourage into the play. So that's a whole, even though it looks like just free play, there's really a lot going on at that time.
Sociological,
Yeah, you would actually see all of the social innuendos that you see adults going through. You see that happening in this play.
Happening during their playtime. And in the meantime, one is smelling that bread baking, and it smells so good. So after we've cleaned up all our toys and put everything back, we usually have a little sip of our chamomile tea, and then I have a circle time that I do with the children, and I will keep it the same verses, the same songs and games, changing a little, but keeping it similar so that they really have a chance to learn it for maybe 3 weeks or so. And they love that time to play those old childhood games that you know, a lot of times children don't get anymore.
Big gross motor movement, lots of
Big
stomping,
yes.
rhythm and clapping and
Yeah, that's such an important
pretending
time.
with their animals. And,
Yeah. Doing many things, but in a very imaginative way, which they love, and they love the songs. Often parents will come home and say, "My child is singing so many of the songs that you bring," because they love to sing. And then at the end of that, a little quiet rest time while I play music for them. We can have just a little quiet time for everything in that busy morning to sink in a little bit, and then we wake them up and they go to the table for their bread or whatever it is that we've made, which they love. And Summer spoke about how we always want to say a blessing before we eat. We wait till everyone is served before we eat. That is something I noticed visiting in another school, not a Waldorf school, that the teachers were, with their paper plates, were serving the children as soon as they got their bagel or whatever it was. They just started eating, and when they were done, they were done. There wasn't that
More randomness.
So often, people talk about the importance of the family meal, but those are happening less and less these days. But it's a really important social time.
Yeah.
So those skills are being learned, and then we wash up and go out and play for another long time. But at the Great Barrington School, there are wonderful woods and places to explore. I'm in an urban situation, so I don't have that luxury, but we still go out to our playground and we can garden and we can swing, and we have the sandbox, and we do all that. And at the end of that time, we have our story time before everyone goes home at noon. Sometimes we stay in the afternoon.
Nice. Very nice.
And I would say one important thing to add is that these rhythms continue the same every day. You may have bread day on Wednesday, soup day on Tuesday, and it's every Tuesday that you would have soup day. And it changes every day, every Tuesday it tastes a little different. But the children feel held by knowing what's coming next and don't get worried about or anxious about what is going to happen next and what do they have to do. They just flow so nicely through the rhythm. And then what's incorporated in the rhythm is also those times for tidying the toys, for getting your shoes on to go outside. Those are actually little activities in themselves. They're not just quick transitions that make these children anxious or worried.
Mini skills.
Yeah. So, and we do it very seamlessly. And the children, it's amazing within the first month or two. You see how the class is formed, and everybody is really held by that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of a history lesson, or maybe not.
All I know is Elizabeth Grinulius, who was...
This was our first in this country.
First in this country. She knew there were indications from Steiner, and it can be read in many books of child development. Specifically, Soul Economy and Child's Changing Consciousness have a great few chapters on where children should be at that age. But I remember hearing that even though there weren't any early childhood programs in the first Waldorf schools, and even before Steiner himself passed away, it could be heard, the legend is that he would be going through the hallways muttering, "We must have kindergartens, we must have kindergartens." So in his imagination, they were to come, and she brought it over to this country. And I think over the time, it's
at the New York City School.
New York City Waldorf School. It's
we use Central Park, by the way, for their playground.
Yes.
That's about as urban as you could get in New York City. 1928, I believe, they started. And they would go down 3 or 4 blocks across the street carefully and play in Central Park. So. And
I've had the luxury of being able to go play with them in Central Park. It's definitely, they have to, hold on to their rope to get there. But once they get into the woods, into their place, it's all imaginative play, and it's beautiful.
Good. Right. Well, a quick glimpse. You are encouraged to get on your computer as an adult and look for WECAN, Waldorf Early Childhood Association of North America, and from there, who knows what might happen. So thank you very much, Christy.
Thank you.
Summer, and until we meet again.